All right, so this is going to be, I guess, I'm just going to get to know you guys. All right?
Cool.
All right.
Roll.
All right, Dylan, tell me a little bit about yourself, and what I really want to know is the things that you think I should know about you for what we're going to do today. So we're gonna work out. I'm going to teach you a few things. So the information I need is more. You can tell me a little about your personality. I'll get a feel for that, and that will help me to train you and push you. But that takes a long time. So I'm meeting you now, and I need the nuts and bolts first, and then as we go, I'll try to figure out the way to push your buttons for you. But give me some of that too. So tell me anything I need to know about your physical makeup and history, and tell me a little bit about like you as a person, and maybe put in one thing about what you want to be, who you want to be, where you want to go. And the same for you, Dylan, when we get to you. All right?
Yeah.
So go ahead, hit me something. Give me something.
Yeah, so my name's Ryan, and I've been training for about 10 years now.
Okay.
For the most
How old are you?
I'm 25.
All right.
Since I was 15.
Okay.
For the most part, it's all been bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
Over the past couple years, I've been kind of getting more into powerlifting, so, working on my squat, bench, and deadlift. But I felt like a lot of the bodybuilding training I've done, and I've competed in bodybuilding, a few times, has really helped me build a good base, good mind-muscle connections, which has kind of helped with, using certain muscles in the big three for powerlifting. But
yes.
That's kind of where I'm heading to right now. I'm hopefully going to be starting prep for a meet here next week. So.
First meet?
It'll be my second.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What about your structure? Got any problems?
Injuries? Fortunately, no injuries.
Nice.
Obviously, little nicks and dings here and there just from training. That happens. Bicep tendonitis, some patellar tendonitis, things of that nature. But I've worked through pretty much all of those. No issues there. So, structurally, I struggle with the squat. That's probably my worst lift. But long femurs.
Shouldn't be. You got plenty of meat for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do a little bit of that. Go ahead.
Yeah. But,
go on.
I think probably my best lift would be bench.
Good.
That's the one I work on the most.
That was my best lift too.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me one thing about you as a person.
Me as a person, I consider myself extremely motivated in whatever I do. So when I put, my attention on something, I'm pretty much going to be, all in on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think I've learned that a lot just from my upbringing, and then that's carried over to bodybuilding. You got to be all in on that. My work. So
what do you do for work?
I do heating and air conditioning.
Okay.
So I'm pretty much busy all the time with that.
Tell me somebody you admire, and tell me why you admire them. And it could be from anything or anywhere.
Somebody I admire is probably Michael Jordan.
Okay.
More than a lot of people, and that documentary they made about him, I've watched it multiple times. Just his mindset towards winning, and kind of the same deal. When he had his mind focused on something, he was going to accomplish that. He got beat in the playoffs multiple times, and each year he came back stronger with a plan to win. Being in the gym, getting stronger so he could beat the Pistons. Doing whatever he could do to win. He was going to find a way no matter what. Just obsessed with winning.
Give me a word you would use to describe his mindset.
Obsessed.
Okay.
Would be one, for sure.
You consider yourself obsessed also?
Occasionally, from time to time.
Okay.
Not in a bad way.
Tell me what that means. What's a bad way? Be obsessed.
I think you can be overly obsessed with things, where you can overthink it. Paralysis by analysis. If you get too obsessed with something, you can overthink things and maybe start going backwards almost. You kind of have to have a little bit of outside perspective from time to time to know when to reel it back and when to push hard.
Reel it back. Reel the obsession back?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's a bad way to be obsessed? What happens with that?
I think a bad way to be obsessed is when other things in your life really start falling apart.
Good. Okay, so now what's a good way to be obsessed? The
obsessed.
obsession that you saw in Michael Jordan that you admired.
That obsession was he found a way to win, and he also found a way for everyone around him to win as well.
That sounds like creativity.
To be better.
Tell me about the obsession.
The
What's a
obsession.
good way to be obsessed? How do you want to be obsessed? You want to take the best of anything that you admire.
I want to.
So tell me what your version of being obsessed well and the right way to be obsessed means to you.
The right way to be obsessed carries over to getting the most out of something you can get. You know, taking it to your limit, so to speak, basically.
Relate taking yourself to your limit
Yeah.
to an obsession.
Yeah.
Relate that to me. So so I want to be the best I can be in things. But I don't know if I'm obsessed. So when you say that, let's relate that, and we're just playing this game,
Yeah.
okay? There's no right answer.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing is I'm getting I'm very quickly trying to get some feel for who you are, and that will help me when I try to get more out of you.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me about obsession and being your best. How are those two related? Because people are obsessed with things that don't make them their best. People can be obsessed with things that fuck them up, screw them up.
So with me being obsessed,
So the good obsession
I
that
know
you
when
want.
I have a goal and I'm obsessed on that,
Mhm.
and just for this example, I'm going to say, if I have a powerlifting meet coming up,
Mhm.
I'm not going to let anything get in the way of putting my best on the platform.
Anything?
Well,
You have a wife, girlfriend?
I do not.
Significant other?
Family, you have to find balance with the other things in your life. But
Well, wait, you just told me you're not going to let anything. Anything includes all things.
Yeah.
So are you going to let some things get in your way, or are you not going to let anything get in your way? Which is it?
well,
I think this is the question we're talking
Yeah.
about, right? So you said anything. And that
Let
means
me put
family and your job. Would you quit your job? And so that's anything, right?
so
where's that line
my
of
bodybuilding
good
show,
obsession?
I know towards the end of prep, unfortunately, I did have to put some things on the back burner.
Not unfortunately. You got to pay the price,
Yeah,
brother.
I did.
That's not
And
unfortunate.
it
That's the
worked out.
price.
And I had to put things on the back burner, but as soon as prep was over, I put my attention back on those things. And one thing I heard recently was Juji Muthu say on the Table Talk podcast was you have to periodize your life. So there are times in your life when you have to be all in on certain things.
Okay.
And then there are times in your life when maybe you can get something else that
Okay, so let me paraphrase what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So you're saying that obsession is a good thing and sacrifice is a good thing
Yeah.
to a point, and maybe a good way to handle that is to set specific periods to be completely obsessed,
Yeah, correct.
partially obsessed, and not obsessed at all, and taking care of other business
Yeah.
if you can. I mean, life doesn't necessarily come at us in segments. We get all of it. But I think that's an interesting. Is that what you believe? Did I paraphrase that right? That there's
Yeah,
that we
that's-
can be obsessed completely sometimes, but other times we can't.
Correct. that's
And it would
what's
be
good.
bad if we were all in all the time.
Yeah. Let other things fall apart.
They do, right? Yeah. Well, they don't get fed.
Yeah.
Right? But one thing does get fed. You have so much food and you put it where you want. You have $100 in your pocket, you can spend it on what you want. But the first thing's $99, you only got $1 for whatever's left. Right?
Yes.
And so what you're saying is that sometimes I'm going to spend that whole $100 on the thing. And sometimes I'm going to spend half of it and half of it. And sometimes I'm going to divvy it up. And I'm going to pick times in my life where the one thing has its moment, like your youth or this opportunity. You know, maybe you have an opportunity to take a job somewhere, leave your family and pick up and go, and that's temporary. And so I like that idea that, first of all, you have some understanding that complete obsession can be bad,
Yeah.
but yet you understand that there is something that attracts you to that. I'll do anything to win. But we won't really do anything to win all the time, nor should we, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Dylan, where you come from, and give me something.
Well, my name's I'm a strength and conditioning coach in the Cleveland area, so I work with youth, middle school, high school,
Nice.
adult, and some one-on-one training clients. And right now I have a few power lifters, and I got into powerlifting. It's probably been about 4 years after football. I just want to be competitive.
How old are you?
I'm about to turn 22. I'm 21 right now.
Okay.
So I just want to be competitive in something. I miss competing. And for me, it was like powerlifting was the best way to display strength. Like it wasn't primarily about the sport. It was like the strongest people to me, like physically, mentally, those are powerlifters.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's something that I admired about the sport in general.
So you're attracted to strength. Strength impresses you. It's something that you would like to emulate. You see strength in people, and that seems like something you would like to have.
Yeah.
Very good. What do I need to know about your physical makeup? Should I know things that if we get started, I don't want you to say, "Oh, I dislocated my elbow," or I want to be a little ahead of that game.
About a year ago, I had like a partial distal hamstring tear.
Okay.
I'm still able to train.
Did it bruise? Did it bleed?
No.
Okay.
No. It was.
So it was more down by the tendon than the muscle?
Yep.
Okay. Do you know which muscle it was? Semitendinosus, semimembranosus,
No.
rectus femoris?
No.
Okay. Was it on the inside or outside?
Inside.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I could train it pretty hard, but every once in a while it acts up on me. But right now.
All right. I did want to do a hamstring, so I'm going to kick your ass on hamstrings then. How's your hamstrings?
Fantastic.
I hope so. God, I hope so. Go on.
Right now I'm dealing with some thoracic nerve issues right now, so I have like innervation problems in this kind of whole limb. So I have a little bit of atrophying in my trap and in my pec major, and a little bit serratus and lat, but nothing I haven't trained through.
I can't remember what nerve root that is. What nerve root is that? Do you know? Did they tell you?
I'm not sure.
It seems like it would be higher than thoracic, but I don't remember. So I just wanted to see if we could.
It's right
we could look it up if we have to. It
cervical
becomes something that.
thoracic.
Yeah, I think up a little higher. Okay, and on a scale of 1 to 5, how much does it bother you? 0 being 1 being it doesn't really bother me much, or 5 it affects everything I do.
I'd say about a 2.
Wow. Okay.
I've kind of learned to manipulate my shoulder to put it in a good position, like,
All right.
in spite of it being just a little bit weak. And it's
Okay.
always in the back of my mind, unloading a bar on a squat or unraveling
Well,
a
yeah,
bench.
you're going to have to protect it. That's good too. I'm going to do maybe a video where we talk about protecting the shoulder. Maybe I'll use you for that. Then that would be good. Okay, tell me something about yourself that you want me to know about you. So you admire strength. I got that, and you have played football competitively, and you love competition. You're a competitor. I'm going to talk a lot about that, I think, with Dave today, but maybe it'll come up with us. Yeah, it's one thing to be a strong person, and it's another thing to be a good competitor.
Right.
So some people have their best lifts in the gym. You'd be surprised how many meets I went to, and I beat somebody, and they come up to me and say, 2 weeks ago, I outlifted you. I hit this in the gym. And I said, man, if only the meet was 2 weeks ago, because I kicked your ass today. And so being a good competitor is not just being strong or being good at something you do. It's being able to be your best when the best is needed. They pick a day. You don't get to choose it. You have to learn to peak and come, and you have to show all the way up. And that's what being a competitor is. I beat a lot of people that I actually do believe were stronger than me. But I was a very good competitor. I was always ready, and that's just a skill. That's just something you can learn. You don't have to change your body for that. You have to change your preparation. And you have to, there's a lot of people that thrive under the pressure of competition, and some people crack up. And you just want to be better at the people that, like, man, I do better. So I always save my best attempts and all my best lifts for the platform. I did not take a lift in the gym that I was going to take in the platform. So I didn't want it to happen in the gym. So I didn't want to be that guy that says, hey, I lifted more than that 2 weeks ago. in competition, that doesn't matter. It doesn't count. It counts for that guy. He lifted it. Good for him. You built yourself up to an incredible, great lift, and you own that, and that's yours. And I'm not going to take that away from you. But there's a different thing when people are watching. Do you ever have to read to a group of people? It's different when somebody's watching, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so being a good competitor is important. So I didn't give you a chance to say something else. So those are two things I know about you. You love competition, and you admire strength for its own sake. And tell me one more thing about you, and we can probably, is that probably enough?
I think it's not so much strength as it is like resilience.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't need to be the strongest person in a gym, and I don't ever expect to be the strongest person in a gym or at the competition, but like, I'll be there, next competition. I'll be in the gym after this one. Like, for me, that's much more admirable. Like, you had mentioned like a person you look up to. Like, I started powerlifting because of my mom. She wasn't in the sport, but like, to me, that was the most resilient, relentless person.
Okay, I want to hear the story. Give me the part that you can.
Yeah.
Just the part that you can. Just the part the resilient part that you admire. And if it's a bad story, just make it nicer.
Right.
Give me the part that helps you.
Yeah, there's no nice way to put it, but she had acute myeloid leukemia about 4 years ago, and she passed away. But throughout that,
Recently?
no, I should say she passed away 4 years ago.
Okay.
She had acute myeloid leukemia a little while
All right.
ago, and I watched her fight that for months and months,
Yeah.
and always with a smile on her face, and it was always thinking about her kids before herself. And to me, it was like, how do I emulate that in my own life?
Yeah.
And how do I put myself through, similar stressors that she did? And that's just when I felt closest to her. It's like I wanted to bring about, that gift that I felt she passed on to me, and I just want to be, like I said, I don't need to be the strongest, but I just want to be the most.
That's a different kind of strength.
Yeah.
We were, I was talking, and you said strength. I thought muscle strength, lifting heavy things. But there's many other kinds of strength. That is a strength that is an inner strength, right? That resilience, and it's a strength too. We can build anything stronger, any virtue or attribute that we have. Like, you can become a better listener. You can build that up, and you can be a stronger listener. You can be a stronger speaker in front of people, like all those things. So that's glad. I'm glad that you mentioned that, and that's the strength that really drew you to this kind of strength. And I always talk about, the mind, the body, and the spirit. And a lot of people do, and they talk about it, and they know it's important, but then they'll tell you all about the body and how to train it, and sets and reps and exercises and programs. Like, what's your program for your mind? What do you do? What exercises do you specifically do to make your mind stronger? What exercises can we do to make your resilience stronger? What sort of things can we actually do? I can just say, hey, yeah, it's great. You should really make yourself more resilient. You'd be like, okay, what do you think I should do for that? Well, I have an answer. I do. I have things we can do, just like we can do exercises in the gym. I have exercises that we can do to build your resilience, to build your discipline, to build your control over yourself on the inside. Now, we demonstrate that with stuff on the outside, but the outside outcome isn't as important as what's going on inside, because that's what we're trying to build, right? And so I have exercises for that. And maybe we'll do something do a resilience exercise, or just sort of some inner strength that you could put anywhere you want. You could put it into bouncing back. You could put it into driving yourself forward. You could put it into just pushing your own motivation. When you have inner strength and discipline and willpower, and let me define that before I move on, and then remind me where I stopped, because I get off on tangents sometimes, and I've been hitting the head too many times. But willpower I define as doing what you want in spite of how you feel. That's the best I've ever heard it. I exercise my will in spite of everything else, even how I feel. My will gets done. What I want, I do. And so exercises to develop, I knew I was going to forget. Exercises to develop willpower are not too hard to come by. And they don't look like they have a big outcome outside. But they have a very big outcome inside. They change you and they build it. You practice. And every success that you can show on the outside, but that you're working with what that thing is inside. And that thing is to find out how to move that willpower where you want it and then apply it. And you can apply it to, have you seen the Japanese flower arranging or the Japanese tea ceremony? All right, well, you should look it up. They have a Japanese tea ceremony. And all they do is set out the teacups. They have a tray and teacups, and they serve tea. They just pour tea. Now, you could pour tea, I could pour tea. But would we do it with that kind of intention? Because when they pour tea, every single movement of their hand, their arm, their body, the cups, the placement of the cups, everything matters. And they're searching for an aesthetic. They're controlling this one thing. They're controlling this little environment, this little tea thing. And some people do it well, and some people don't do it well. How could you not pour tea well? Because everything matters to them. Because they're taking this thing, which is just pouring tea, and they're choosing to make it important enough to focus on and to control and to use their willpower to try to do in a certain way that they want to accomplish. It's an art, but it's also a discipline of controlling yourself and your environment. And you can do that with anything. I can have you stack weights. And if I told you to stack them perfectly, what would that mean to you? I want you to take all those weights and I want you to move them to the center of that, and I want you to stack them perfectly. And I want every movement you make to matter. And I want you to do it the best way you can. Now, what do I mean? Do I mean the most efficient? Do I mean, what is the best? I don't know. But you get to choose that with your willpower. And so when you bend down for the first plate, how are you going to bend down? Are you going to bend down with intention to be beautiful, aesthetic, smooth, strong? You choose what best is for you, but then you apply that to whatever you're doing. And so if I gave you parameters, I said, I want you to do that as smoothly as you can. I want you to move those plates to there as smoothly as you can. Every step, every reach, every placement of the weight, as smoothly as you can. That would be our ceremony. Or if I said maybe as fast as you can, or as efficiently as you can, with as less movements and steps as you could. We can do all these kinds of things. It's just taking an idea and saying, I'm going to do this. By my will, I'm going to do it this way. And I'm going to do it really well this way. Quality. And they pour tea. And you could lift weights. And that has carryover to powerlifting because efficiency matters. And it has carryover. But it also has carryover to bodybuilding, and well, it has carryover to everything you want to apply it to. It's your willpower exercised on the world the way you want it to, not just slapdash. So you can suffice everything. You can just get the job done. And some things that don't matter much, remember Sun Tzu, you care about the things that are more important. You put more into them, and things that you don't do so much. But you can choose to put a lot into something that's not important. Because in the end, what is important? 600-pound squat, is that important? Does that matter? What can you do with a 450-pound bench that you can't do with a 350-pound bench in the world? Yeah, right. What can you do with a 600-pound bench that you can't do with a 350-pound bench? Right. See, so it matters because we make it matter, you see? The tea ceremony matters to them because they're living their life, spending time doing some activity with highest quality, and that's where the reward is. And this all happens on the inside. Because you could watch two people do the tea ceremony, and it's pretty similar. It's pretty rigid. It's ancient, right? And it's supposed to be done, but there's still differences, right? And people, I think, become critical, and they've turned it like into a competition and stuff, and that's bullshit. But this idea that I want to impress on you about your resiliency, and that's something you want to develop. There's things you can do that don't look like they have necessarily outward application, but they're training you inside to become more and more willful and to exercise your will on something outside. And that's an inner strength that could be applied to resiliency or staying calm in a storm. When shit hits the fan, who's the dude that people go to? It's the dude that keeps his head, right? And that, you can get better at that. But you've got to go to the storm to do that. You can't just say, I'm going to be calm. I want to be calm when shit hits the fan. Well, that you may or may not be. But you can practice to be better and better at these things. And so it's one thing to have the physical, and we'll use the physical. I use the physical to teach the inside stuff, because I learned it here in the gym. And so I know how to teach others in the gym. But you could teach it anywhere. People do this in nature, they do it in art. But what we're really after is that body, mind, spirit connection. Because otherwise you're just operating as one part of you. And that can't be as good as all three parts of you, can it? Maybe you're doing well, and I see people that just physical, they don't have a clue about the heart and the spirit and the emotion, and they're not very mentally strong. And you just know that if they put a little bit more of those two in, they'd be better. But they're pretty damn good anyways, so they don't really do that. But for those of us that aren't so great, without the other two, we have to incorporate them all. So anybody that does, though, is going to be, how about that? God is on my side. He knows I'm right, and do you see that? So what I'm saying is absolutely true, and God just verified that for all of you. Yeah, so you see that I'm right. That's nice. Get that, validation. So if you operate as a full person, you have to do better. You just have to. And you don't have to go overboard with the mental stuff or the spiritual stuff, but if you just touch on it a little bit, you got to be doing better on the platform and on the stage and then on the field and in your life with your girlfriend and wife and kids and people that you touch. So that's good that you mentioned about the two kinds of, because I thought the first strength, when you said strength, was going to be, I like big, powerful guys that can influence their world, right, with physical force, and that was a nice turn. All right, so I got a good idea, and maybe I hope you got a good idea about me when I talked. So we'll try to work together today, no matter how much you hate me or like me, and we'll try to get something done.